Speaking of space, co-working was quite the trend in the startup ecosystem. However, much like several other sectors, the co-working sector had also taken a massive hit. Their biggest challenges included users withdrawing memberships, rent waivers becoming a roadblock, and now, of course, companies inclining towards a remote work model. But now, as India opens up, several co-working spaces have resumed operations outside containment zones starting May. Going forward, these players will have to hit refresh and build models for a socially distant future. To decode what this future looks like, I am now joined by Amit Ramani, founder and CEO of Awfis, and Vikas, Lakhani, co-founder of InstaOffice and member of Indian Workforce Association. Gentlemen, welcome to the show. Vikas, let me start this conversation with you. As I said, the economy is restarting. Co-working spaces have been opening up in multiple cities. So could you tell us, given that you have 50 players in the Indian Workspace Association, you're privy to a lot more data. So help us understand what is the percentage of centers that have reopened and what is the occupancy like?
Hey, Megha. So, see, with regards to how many people have actually opened up, for the most part, most of the operators have actually already started operating now. As the lockdown ended, most operators actually started operating anywhere between 3rd to 8th of May after getting all the readiness in place. I must add that still a lot of the players were still operating even during the lockdown time because a lot of our members were involved in essential services. So with regards to operating, whether during the lockdown or after the lockdown, for the most part, a large part of the industry is operational. With regards to the occupancy still continues to be low. And it is largely because of two reasons. One is, I think, still the confidence in safety is fairly low. We're seeing COVID numbers increasing every day. Secondly, I think the problem is also logistical. Still, public transport is not operational. So logistical problems are, again, one of the very important reasons why we continue to see a fairly low occupancy across the board. What I'd like to add is that having spoken with a lot of our counterparts across the globe, what we see is that occupancy in the first few weeks have been fairly low for most players who've been slightly ahead of us in terms of the lockdowns and openings. But they've had a very, very strong recovery after a couple of weeks of good COVID data. It happened in Israel, it happened in Hong Kong. And we hope to see, if we have better data on COVID coming in, we would hope to see a fairly sharp recovery in occupancies as well.
Okay, so occupancy continues to remain low. Amit, let me come to you. You've opened up 56 centers out of your total 67 centers. So what is the new normal like at co-working spaces since, Vikas just mentioned that occupancy is low. So what is the kind of traction that you've been seeing? Can you share some data with us?
So, Megha, I think clearly, obviously, occupancy has been low. In the first couple of weeks in May, we were getting about 10 to 15% occupancy. But in the last few days, since June, especially in Bangalore, Hyderabad, even in Pune, Kolkata, occupancies are looking to be about 30–35%. My sense is that the occupancy will go back to about 50–60% in the next couple of weeks. And I think, post-July, we should get to, same level of normalcy that we were in somewhere in March. Obviously, there is going to be social distancing norms. We are, overall as an industry, very focused on ensuring that our members are well taken care of. There is protocols being followed for their safety and obviously our safety of our employees as well. So that continues to be the #1 priority for all the operators, including us. But we feel that there will be a V-shaped recovery because in May itself, sales have started back up again. We have gotten a very good traction in May for our sales as well, so which gives me very strong hope that normalcy will return very soon.
Okay, 50 to 60%, that's your occupancy rate at this point. You're hoping for a V-shaped recovery. However, it's not reached pre-COVID levels just yet. So Vikas, I listed out this long list of challenges that the co-working space or the sector is facing. So how do players adapt to a post-COVID world? What does a socially distant world look like for co-working spaces?
Megha, one thing that's actually that goes in our favor is that we're still a fairly young industry, which makes us fairly agile. Secondly, we still are a service-based industry. So even before the lockdown happened, we'd already doubled down, tripled down on the safety and hygiene measures across the board. And even now, in terms of interiors, in terms of using more technology, in terms of reducing all the touch points across the spaces, we've seen a lot of innovative solutions with a lot of the co-working spaces. So I think what goes in our favor is that fairly agile, young industry, and we are a service-based industry. So we are going to really be able to focus on what's really important for the consumer.
Okay, you are a young sector for sure, and that's probably why folks like Amit can experiment with new styles of working. Amit, I believe that you've recently launched something called Office at Home. This is a new solution. Tell us about it as to how different it is from the model that you had.
Sure. So, Megha, just some data points, right? Before the COVID era, there was about 1 million people working from home, right? Today, that data is close to about 6 to 7 million people were fully active working from home, and large part of it was from the IT/ITES industry. And we clearly understood that there was two things that was happening, right? One, the businesses understood that this could be a real estate saving measure. Second, business continuity planning necessitates every company to look at alternate ways to make their employees productive in case there is a pandemic like COVID currently and in the future, right? From an employee standpoint, I think a big shift happened. We did a survey of about 5,000 people, and what came about was that about 65% of the people were willing to work from home continuously, even when work started back, right? So it's about choice to the employee. And from a choice standpoint, clearly the employees are saying, why should I travel 2 hours every day to work, right? If I was productive last 3 months, then why shouldn't I be allowed to work from home? So it's a win-win for the employee, and it's a win-win for the employer. So we said, why don't we launch Office at Home? And the solution is pretty straightforward. For $2,500 a month, you get a smart desk, ergonomic chair, a business broadband connection, and IT support, and all the benefits of Office, right? Today, with almost 70 centers, 10 cities, and every geography covered, you have the ability to get to a center within a 10-15 minute driving radius. So the product is a remote working product that includes Office at Home and work near home. So it fulfills two of those solutions right now. And the demand has been phenomenal in the last 10 days that we've launched it.
Okay. I think the only thing your existing customers will have to give up is on a fancy cafeteria, the cool vibe of a co-working space, and that's something that they will have to trade in if they opt for this Office at Home solution. But let me quickly continue talking to you. One of the biggest challenges for the sector was customers telling that they cannot pay fees for the period of lockdown. So did you face similar challenges as well? And also, did you face a large number of force majeure clauses being invoked?
So, Megha, coincidentally, I mean, our business, about 75 to 80% was medium to large corporates. So in that, there's a lot of stability in that business. We did see some traction and churn in some of the smaller customers. But as an industry, I think we took a tack that we had to work together, right? I mean, if there was a challenge, then we had to all work together. So we approached our landlords. And similarly, we approached our customers and kind of helped create a win-win situation by giving deferments, in some cases, some minor discounts, etc. But we all had to work together to create that environment. As far as the,
before I wrap, Vikas, let me quickly ask you. I know that this is a time that you're hoping for a V-shaped recovery, and I don't mean to rain on your parade, but I have to ask you this. We have seen WeWork India let go of 100 of their employees. Let me just ask you simply: are there more layoffs coming in from the sector?
I think from the sector perspective, we haven't really seen a lot of the layoffs happening. And as I mentioned before, I think in the immediate term, we are going to have some deep pain like many other industries. What's interesting is that the sentiment on the industry in the medium to long term continues to be fairly positive. So we haven't really seen sort of a very bad sentiment or layoffs in the industry as such. And the long-term story stays fairly intact, if not even better.